Hey, my name is Sean. I wanted to give a brief review of the Suunto Zoop Novo dive computer. I've had mine for a little over a year now, probably put about 20 dives on it, and so far I've really liked it. It's been a good watch to me, and I just wanted to make a little video showing some of the things that I like about it that I haven't really seen elsewhere, and also because the manual, if you've tried to read it, is not that good and doesn't really do the product justice. So this is your basic watch. It has 4 buttons, which is an improvement over the previous Zoops, which only have 3, and just having played around with a friend's Zoop, the 4th button makes a difference because you end up with some kind of select button, button to flip you between modes, and then buttons to scroll through various modes. This watch is it's in the $300 US range, which puts it kind of at the high end of your basic dive watches. It's got a lot more features than a really basic one-button watch, which if all you really want to do is go diving and make sure you don't get bent, maybe a one-button watch may be better for you. But this watch has various alarms, provides a lot of information, and the computer upload and also what you can pull off the watch in terms of your dive profile is really very nice. The strap it comes with is actually ridiculously long. And I made the mistake of cutting it shortly after I bought it, kind of at the maximum length I could with my 3mm wetsuit. And then eventually I moved to a dry suit, and it works fine, but I cut a couple of inches off, and so with my very thick undergarments, I can't fit this around unless someone helps me really tighten it. There is a bungee adapter that replaces these, which I'm looking into, or maybe just making something by casting some resin. I'm not quite sure. The buttons are notably, they take a bit of pressure to use. The device comes with a shield that goes over the face to protect it. I took it off after a few dives because I found that the glare off of it and just water and air bubbles underwater was making it hard for me to read. And it also does impede you pushing the buttons, especially if you have thick gloves off. So I just run without the shield on it. But underwater, it's really easy to read the contrast you can play around with through the settings. But it's very good. One thing is it's got a proprietary connector that's unique to Suunto. You can go online and find schematics for older models, but not this one. I ended up buying a third-party cable from a guy in Germany, which ended up saving me a fair bit of money because the branded Suunto one something like $80, which is just absurd in my opinion for what is basically a USB to serial converter. What I like about this watch over the other ones I looked at is there's lots of alarms on it, so I can set a depth and a time alarm, so that if you know that you say you've got an hour to get back on the boat, you can set yourself an alarm for say 45 minutes or whatever, and have lots of time to do a safety stop. There's lots of information on the watch itself while you're in dive mode. I'll show you that in a bit. It's easy to read. There's audible alerts you can turn on, such as when you're ascending, it'll tell you if you're going too fast, and then there's things on the display that help you there too. You kind of run through everything with this mode button. You can go dive. You can do your planning. So I can say, like, look, I'm gonna go down to 100 feet. I have 17 minutes for my first dive if I'm diving 21% oxygen. It does do nitrox. I may show that in another video, but it's fairly easy to use there. Also, Suunto apparently are noted for having a very conservative dive profile. I'm still at the stage where my tank runs out of air well before my NDLs hit, so that hasn't obviously been a problem. You can plan your dives with this. One really nice thing that I didn't find out until after was that if you're in the middle of a surface interval and want to plan your next dive, you actually get a second set of controls to say, look, right now if I were to go diving, my NDLs would be so much, but if I were to wait half an hour, what would my NDLs be? Which means you can kind of, during your surface interval, plan ahead, rather than kind of having to wait and see, okay, can I go yet, can I go yet, can I go yet? But other than that, the dive planning is ridiculously simple. When actually in a dive, you It displays a fair amount of information, just goes through this self-test. You don't have to put it in dive mode. It'll automatically go into dive mode when you get in the water, but this just tests your battery. So when you're underwater, you get some basic information. You kind of get your depth. Along the bottom is some information. So right now I've got it displaying the time and the current actual time and how long I've been underwater, and I can change this so that it shows me my temperature, and instead of here it'll show me my maximum depth for that dive. And of course here, when you're actually underwater, it shows you your NDLs. If you're diving nitrox, it'll also show you your mix percentage, and here I believe it's your oxygen, your central nervous system toxicity. It's got a backlight. You hold down the mode button and the backlight comes on, and it's configurable how long it stays on. So that's I've done a couple of night dives and it's been helpful, but again, that button is it's hard to mash if you've got a thick glove on. So I just ended up usually just kind of shining my flashlight off to the side and looking at it. Then the manual, you have to really read it about safety stops. When you ascend and you get close to a safety stop level, it'll show various symbols, which basically is trying to tell you, you have a bit more to ascend. You are within the window of your safety stop, or you've gone past your safety stop, go down. And it'll beep a lot. So you really want to read the manual before your dive to make sure you're understanding what it shows. And then once you've seen it a couple times, it'll make sense when you're looking at it. But the first couple times I used my watch, I didn't pay attention to what it would tell me, and it really got confusing. The history function is really nice. I can show my memory, I can show my logbook, I can cycle through my dives. Here's say a dive to 56 feet. I can select that dive. It'll show me my surface time there was 11, it was about 12 minutes. The average depth for that dive was 32 feet. So the maximum depth was 56, average was 32. So if you like calculating your SAC or your RMV rates, that's a bit of helpful information. You can select onward, and you actually see the profile of the dive. So as you scroll through, you see the temperature. I can see here that at, we'll stop. It's just going. You can see that, say, at 10 feet into the dive, or 11 minutes into the dive, I was around 20 feet. The water temperature was in the 80s. Okay, now it stopped. And so you can just cycle through. Since I bought the cable, I wanted to download all my dive log data into something like Subsurface, so I can see it both on my cell phone and my computer, because I don't do a paper log. I just have it all logged into my computer, and then I can track more information. And based on the dive profile, it helps calculate my SAC. The other thing is, if you are a nitrox diver, every watch treats this a bit differently. Again, if you are a nitrox diver and enter the mix percentage, it'll keep that forever until you change it. So some watches reset after a dive, some watches reset within 24 hours. If you put a mix on, that mix is set until you go and change it. Another, here at the timer thing, it's got a stopwatch. I don't believe that's available when you're underwater. But other than that, for the price, I shopped around. I waited quite a while and found an online sale. So it's regularly, if you buy this at a store, it's $330 US. If you pay attention to a site like Camel, you'll see it maybe go for around $300 US, especially if you don't care about the color. I lucked out and found it at an online reseller for much cheaper. So I guess they're blowing them out. But it's a good watch. If you're if you use Suuntos or they've got higher end models too. This is a great entry level one. The cable itself with the Novos, you can use the same cable on all the newer watches, so you don't have to go buy that cable again, especially if you get into tech diving and want to pull that data off. Great watch. I hope it lasts me quite a while, because I don't have to buy a new one, frankly. But if I did, I would be certainly looking at getting one of these. Thanks.